Karen, there's so much uncertainty for my team these days. It seems like we're always stuck in a wait-and-see sea of indecision. What can I do to empower my team to keep moving? Asking for a friend. One of my earliest managers and mentors at Verizon, Gail, had a phrase she said to our team almost daily during what was one of the first most turbulent times in my career, but certainly not the last. Her words have given me the courage as a team member, a leader, and now in our work growing leaders. Where there is chaos, seize control. You see, at the time I worked with Gail, we were amidst a huge reorganization at Verizon, as well as relocating our headquarters from Virginia to New York City. In addition to all the changing players, everyone seemed to have a new boss, there were new systems, policy, programs, you name it. It seemed like every time we tried to get something done, the response was, let's wait and see, or there's just so much going on, or let's wait until the new head of insert department here is named so we can be sure we understand their new vision. There was a whole lot of important work to do as we waited and watched for what would happen next. But Gail was constantly encouraging our team to act at a team level, to do the best we could with what we knew and not wait. Don't wait for someone to tell you what to do. You know what needs to be done. Bring me your ideas and let's find a way to do it. Every time I or any one of her direct reports would come to her with an idea about how we could get something important done, she would say the same thing. Where there is chaos, and she would smile, wait for us to fill in the blank with the words, seize control, and then eagerly listen to what we had to say. Seizing control had nothing to do with power or politics. It was all about looking at what our team could do, where we could take action, and to step up and lead courageously when others were not, and to do the right thing for the business. What Gail would do next made all the difference too. If we got too nervous about whether we had permission to try something new, she would offer these questions. Do we need this? Is it a sound business decision? Do you have a strong implementation plan? Is your team behind it? Has anyone told you not to do it? What could go wrong? When she would say that, by the time everyone figures out what we need to do that we need to do this, your team will already have a pilot going and great results. You'll have best practices we can scale elsewhere. Just be sure you execute well and tell me before you break any big rules. I promise to have your backs. Gail knew that we knew what was most truly important, and she had given us the tools to work effectively together. She gave us time to get to know one another and work as a team. She knew that if we worked together on important goals, we would make a big impact, even if so much was still up in the air. What I learned from my time working with Gail is that you have much more influence to get things done at a team level than you might think, and high-performing teams take work. You've got to talk about what matters, how you will get there, and challenge one another when it all starts to go sideways. Our team did get a lot done during that turbulent time, and we did make a huge impact. Yes, others did follow our lead and adopt our best practices. And we also learned how to show up with more confidence and own our strengths. We figured out to have our own voice, even against naysayers, and why it mattered. We learned to think critically about what matters most, and we had so much fun along the way. We loved coming to work and felt we were making an impact. We enjoyed one another most of the time, and learned to work through our conflicts that were mostly caused by us caring so much in a productive way. Now that I've often thought about Gail and her approach to empowerment during these times of uncertainty and change and why it works so well, here are a few tips that can help. First, create clarity about what matters most and why. Although politics, people, and policies were in flux, we knew unequivocally what mattered most for our roles. Getting the right people in the right seats, recruiting our top talent, and showing up as true strategic partners to ensure the business was thriving. If what we wanted to do contributed to one of those priorities, we knew we had a green light. Number 2, articulate parameters and boundaries for decision making. When you're working to empower your team, be sure your team knows what kinds of decisions you expect them to make and which are out of bounds. For example, Gail was clear about which decisions we needed to include our finance partners and which did not, and also the kinds of decisions that might add to the chaos. 3, encourage your team to challenge and empower one another. Empowerment can feel scary. It's easier to wait for permission so there's someone else to blame when things go wrong. Gail made it crystal clear that this is the way we do things around here. So she would say things like, "Go ask Lisa, my peer, what I'm going to say about this idea." And of course, she knew Lisa would smile and say, "Where there's chaos, sees control," and then ask me the questions Gail would. When Gail retired, I took over a good portion of her role. That was one of the easiest leadership transitions I've ever made because the team already was empowered to seize control as needed, and I could focus on the more strategic elements of the business. 4, help your team fail forward. As you can imagine, when you truly empower your team, sometimes they're going to really screw it up. I know I did. What happens next matters more than just about anything else if you want your team to stay empowered in the future. Another of Gail's favorite phrases was, "Well, we certainly learned something from this one, right?" The good news is you'll never do that again, will you? Also with a friendly smile. And 5, celebrate the empowered behaviors, not just the outcomes. Although it was over 2 decades ago, I clearly remember Gail's staff meetings where she would call us out, "Karen, tell them what you did and exactly how you did it." Sometimes she would laugh and say, "I'm not sure it's going to work, but it's one heck of a plan." You get more of what you encourage and celebrate and less of what you ignore. If you want to empower your team, call out the empowered behaviors you want to see more. Your turn. Have you ever worked for an empowering leader like Gail? What are your best practices to empower your team?